How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another YouTube video. My name is Trey Cockrum. I run two businesses. One does a couple $1,000,000 a year. The other one does about $1,000,000 a year. And I love what I do, but I don't really work that hard, to be honest with you. Both of them are coaching companies, online training companies. And, I honestly, it was funny. The reason I'm making this video is because I had a one-on-one coaching client, because I help people take their online coaching business to at least 6 figures a month. It's like one of the things that I do. And he asked me very point blank. He said, dude, over the past year, I've noticed that you've really chilled out almost. And I just feel like you don't work that hard. And he's like, how are you getting all this done? Because I feel like I'm working all the time and I'm just not getting anything from it. And so I wanted to talk in this video about how to get more done while working less. And not for the sake of a hedonistic sense of freedom. For me, it actually came from a sense of duty once I started my family. I don't really care to have like a lot of experiences. Or, I said this in another video and people liked it. There's this idea of, I don't buy things, I buy experiences. To me, like, the real G's just don't buy anything. They just keep all their money. And that's kind of like where I'm at. I don't really need anything, so I just keep all the money. Because I've gotten all that out of my system. I've bought $40,000 Rolex watches, and I've had $100,000 cars and stuff. I've done all that. Don't really, I might do it again at some point, but, not really in the radar right now. And the only reason I say that is because I just think that people want to have freedom for the sake of freedom so they can do other things. For me, it's duty. And there's nothing wrong with wanting freedom, by the way. I know I'm kind of down-talking it, but I think I'm just saying what I wish I would have heard. But I'm going to keep the video on topic. I know that this is not helpful for a lot of people. So how do you get more done with less work? Well, there's one word, and it's really very simple, and it's leverage. And so I want you to understand what leverage actually is, okay? Leverage is essentially using your energy to get more done using either tools, systems, or sources of energy that you control that are bigger than you, okay? And so you really have to think about the laws of thermodynamics and how energy works in order to really be able to, understand leverage. Because leverage is basically, like, for example, $1,000,000 cash is $1,000,000 cash worth of energy that you can then deploy to, affect change on things. Your time, your days are, you have a certain amount of caloric physical energy every day that you can then decide how to invest to solve the problems that you need to solve to get to where you're trying to get. Okay, and the way that I've learned to think about it, that, honest to God, I literally probably work 3 to 5 hours a day because I'm spending most of my time with my family. Either with my family or honestly just screwing off. Like, I know that sounds really irresponsible to some people, and this is while building a business. I'm not even at a season where my business is built. Like, I'm rebuilding a new thing right now, and I'm still working very, very little. So let me draw this out. I feel like I'm just ranting. Let me go ahead and draw this for you guys. There's a few seasons, okay? So first season, you kind of have to go through this season. You have to go through, there's a couple steps. I'll draw it like this. This is probably a helpful, visual way of digesting this idea. So step 1 is you have to learn, through trial and error, what works. And this is the biggest grind season. So if you're making less than $10,000 or $20,000 a month, you don't even know what works yet. You know what I mean? You don't know how to sell anything. You don't even know the basics. You know what I mean? And it's not like a dig. It's just you don't. If you did, you'd have it, And I really believe this. If you knew what to do, you'd have it because you'd do it, And a lot of people are like, oh, I know what to do, but I don't do it. No. Often you don't do it because you don't actually believe that it's going to get you there. If you knew 100% that it would get you there, then you'd do it because everybody wants the reward. It's just that they're afraid that it's not going to work, right? That's the root of most procrastination. My theory is the root of most procrastination is they don't actually want the reward, right? Or they don't believe that what they're going to do is going to get them the reward, so they don't do it. So anyway, you got to, through trial and error, figure out what works. This is the biggest grind season. You're grinding. This is 2019 Trey. You know what I mean? Just freaking grinding it out, man. Grinding it out. Then, the next step is you've got some frameworks of what works. Frameworks of what works in your head. You've kind of stored these skills and this knowledge of like what works. It's like, okay, went through this grind season. Now I have all these frameworks of what works. For example, I've taken 10,000 sales calls at least. I know that sounds insane, but I've honestly taken at least 10,000 sales calls because I've been doing this now for 6 years, and I've probably at least taken on average one sales call. No, not even one, probably 2 sales calls a day for that entire time for various things that I do, whether that's, leading by example for a company that I'm building and designing a sales process, or that is for my coaching coaches business, where I help them get their business to $100,000 a month or whatever, and I don't really think about them as sales calls. I just think about them as like getting to know people. And if it makes sense, we do something, you know what I mean? So it's not even like sales for me anymore. But at the time it felt very, calorically heavy. That's where you get these nerves from sales calls, is you don't even really know what the right or wrong things to do are. It's like learning how to ride a bike. But once you learn how to ride a bike, you can ride it for forever. That's a great example of how your brain works. Your brain learns and develops pathways and systems, these subconscious frameworks of what to do. Your brain is capable of that. So really, the reason I work less is because I have frameworks. But the final step is I have team that I've taught these frameworks to. So I've taken the frameworks that work, and then I've passed them on to a team. So I've figured out what works, and then I've gotten it dialed way in, and then I have team that do the frameworks. So this is why I work very, very little. And team is a form of leverage. Let me look at this up real quick. Naval Ravikant has a really, really cool Naval Ravikant leverage. Let me show you this. This is really, really cool. This really helped me. So there are a few forms of leverage. Okay? So there is media, which right now you are consuming media from me. And it's steadily increasing the odds that you maybe buy something from me at some point. Which even if you don't, I'm still going to make these videos. Honest to God, I don't need to make these videos to make money. I like making content. It's just fun. I've always done it. You could literally go on my channel back to 2008. I was making videos about tech decks, if you know those little finger skateboards. Like, I've always made YouTube videos. So I just do it because I just love it. But media is very, very high leverage. Getting people to consume media, that's the highest leverage in the world right now because, back in the early 1900s, the asset was like oil and capital and these things. The railroads. Whoever owned the railroads became the billionaire. Now it's whoever gets attention becomes the billionaire. Like Elon Musk, he bought Twitter for a reason, Sure, it's to free speech it up and stuff, but really, it's a very smart net worth play to own an entire massive social media platform because you get people to consume whatever you want them to consume. And then the next is code. So this is basically, digital systems working on your behalf, right? For example, if you sell an online course, that course is code. That course is code and media, right? So I have every single one of these working for me, right? I have every single one working for me. For example, let's use my new business, Kingdom Content Creator Academy. We really should wrap up January. It should be our first $1 million a year run rate month. Honestly, this week alone, we've turned back on ads this week alone, and we brought in, I think, 17, 18 grand. It's been like 5 days into the week, so it's like, we're going to do it, But capital, labor, code, media. So capital is, for me, it's ads. And then it's, which feeds into labor, because capital is also labor. Labor is team, paying people well for performance. Performance pay only. There's nobody on base pay anywhere in my business anywhere. It's all if you eat what you kill. You go out, you kill something, you drag it in, you'll get paid, And then there's code, which is like the course products, the funnels, the systems, the software, Slack, how we set up our team and stuff. And then media, which is our marketing message, which is how we, you notice that's at the peak of the pyramid here. This is the highest form of leverage. So if you want to work less, start thinking of your job not as working hard, but as making good decisions with your existing energy reserves. And good decisions mean implementing leverage. right? So you don't need to work that hard to make a lot of money. You need to have leverage. And those are forms of leverage that I just showed you. And when you're building your business or designing your work life, I want you to think about, is my energy really the thing that I want to utilize the most? And I've seen people do this, and it's fine. Like, there's nothing like wrong with it. I've just never been the kind of guy where I want to go like crazy for 12 hours a day. I've seen people, they get their business to $1 million a month, but they're just nuts, dude. Like, I hang out with these people and I'm like, dude, relax. Like, what is wrong with this person? It's like, it's not even worth it. You're like literally damaging your health. Like, I have friends who literally became like Adderall addicts and stuff. Like, it's like, dude, relax. Like, so for me, the longest term best thing that I can do is find leverage, because then I'm not sacrificing like my health, like my mental health, especially, like it's kind of a dark thing to talk about, but suicide rates are very high amongst failed entrepreneurs because it's just tough. It's so tough. Like, it's very hard putting a lot of time and energy into something and it's not playing out the way you want it to. And I've done that. I've had 1 or 2 year long plans that I thought would work that didn't work and had to pivot. And I've had to kind of go to that dark place. I've had to go to that place of like, man, am I really cut out for this? And really kind of do business with that like thought, And I always come back to wanting to do it, probably because I'm crazy, but also because honestly, like, I'm not about to be 30 and not worth at least $15 million, $10 million. Like, that's really the goal, is I really want to get there. So yeah, leverage is the way to do it without burning yourself out. But the key here becomes taking care of one's self so that you can make the quality decisions necessary to enact leverage onto your system, your business. If you don't take care of yourself, meaning you're not getting your sleep, you're not hydrated, you don't have quality interpersonal relationships, you've got stressors that you haven't dealt with, you've got things in your personal environment that are affecting your quality of thought process, it's going to be really hard to use leverage because you're going to end up in fight or flight, and you're just naturally going to default towards using effort to create yield, physical effort, right? Now, let me go back to this whiteboard. There is a season for, there's definitely a season for this. The season of, like I talked about this stair step thing that I drew out for you guys. There is a season of trial and error and figuring out what works. But honestly, the way to shortcut this season, 2 things. Good mentors and humility. You can shortcut this season very quickly. You have to do the work. If you don't have humility, then your brain, like literally, humility is not this like spiritualized concept. I mean, it is very spiritual, but it really changes the way your brain processes information. If you're not protecting your ego all the time, which is just such a disadvantage in how humans work, is we're so egotistical. It's amazing how much ego we have. How far we've been able to get as humankind with how much ego we have is insane. Because ego is literally the only thing that keeps you from learning what doesn't work and adopting what does work, even if you don't like that it works. Does that make sense? Like, it's ego. Like, you can't accept reality. Ego is the thing that keeps you out of the real world. So this season right here can be like a 4-month season. Honest to God, it can go so quick. One season of just kind of waking up and just grinding it out, and you just kind of figure it out really quick. Especially like skills, like soft skills, like how to run ads or like sales or like how to make good content or stuff like that. It doesn't have to last that long. If you're humble and you've got good mentors and you're just, really, really paying close attention to the effects that your decisions and behavior have on your business, you can shortcut the season so quick. So, but this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I'm able to do what I do. It's because I've learned this. It's 5 years of accumulated framework building in my head. And that's why, I have clients who pay me, a lot of money to basically just like slack me questions. And then they end up doing like 6-figure months with their business, because it's just like, I can see things that they can't see, and I have mentors too. I'm currently paying a mentor, what would it be, like $60,000 a year? Approximately, maybe 70. I don't know how the math adds up. And just to basically be able to just like ask them questions, be like, hey man, is my thought process right here? What do you think? And they're like, yeah, this is good. You're just being able to like shortcut that. So you're always going back to the ground to do the work and learn, that's the asset, is what you've learned, so you can then build frameworks and then apply them to your team or to your organization at large, and you're always doing this cycle. And the more you do that cycle, the further you go, conceptually. I mean, this isn't a very practical framework here, but conceptually, theoretically. Well, not theoretically, conceptually. I have done this. This isn't theory. This is real, right? But if you can just buckle down, do it, learn quick, then you build frameworks. Okay, I did this and it didn't work. Why didn't it work? What's the lesson behind why it didn't work? I did this and it worked. Why did it work? What's the lesson behind why it worked? That's where the humility and curiosity component comes into play. If you're humble and you're curious, you're willing to do the work and you're willing to learn, you can shortcut this season very quickly. You go into the framework season. That season alone, without team, honestly, you can build a 7-figure business as a one-man show just applying what you've learned. But this is honestly where I think there's elements of just genuinely like IQ. And there is emotional intelligence and the willingness to observe one's actions and not come to the wrong conclusions. One of the most dangerous things for entrepreneurs is to learn the wrong lesson from a success or a failure. Because ultimately, all success and all failure is just data. Okay, and if you can really see it like that, you have an amazing advantage. An amazing advantage. Your ego is the thing that builds narrative around data. If you can get your ego out of the way, narrative dissolves. It's no longer, I failed because I'm blank. It just, what you tried didn't work. That's it. It's no longer, I succeeded because I'm God, which is literally what ego tries to convince you. It's, what I did worked. What's the lesson there? And you have to protect yourself from these things. You see a lot of people come and go quick, and I kind of was that guy a little bit. I had a big up, and then I kind of thought I was like, the second coming of Jesus. Like, I really thought I was big shot, big player in town. And so because of that, I stopped that process of learning. I stopped observing my actions. I just kind of thought I'd figured it out. So you have to be able to, at both times, aggressively learn new lessons, right? Aggressively learn new lessons while implementing those lessons into the grander scheme and the system of the business, while being fully confident in the lessons that you've learned. So it's not self-confidence so much. People, like, for example, my wife complimented me. She's like, you're so confident in yourself. I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm confident in me. Honestly, I'm not confident in me at all. I'm just a guy. It's the things that I've learned that I'm confident in, right? It's the systems and the tools that I possess that I'm very confident in. Historically, they've yielded every time. So, yeah, that's how to work less. Basically, it's learning and applying what you've learned and building leverage into your business. That's how you work less, is by you move from getting paid for working hard to making quality decisions based on what you've learned in the field. And this is why, by the way, people who are anti-capitalist throw rocks at the CEO or at the founder, at the owner. What they don't understand is the asset that the owner or the CEO or the manager brings to the table is years of experience and pitfalls that you can't even see. And you fall into them, and they cost you $100,000, $1 million, $10 million. You wouldn't even see them. So they're there because they know those things, and they can avoid them, and you wouldn't even know that they're helping you avoid something. So, to me, that's a very common attack. Is like, oh, the owner doesn't work at all. It's like, well, the owner does the hardest thing, which is spend a decade doing it and figuring out what works, so that the people that work for them, can avoid the same mistakes. So that's, to me, leverage is the allocation of lessons. Okay, so let me put it like this. This is a great way to kind of summarize and bring this video kind of to a head. Sure, you have media code, labor, capital, right? But let me bring a. Can I draw on my screen? Let me just imagine right here at the very bottom of this. Or no, imagine encapsulating all of this is the word lessons. Okay. The right lessons, not just lessons, period. Like, a lot of people throw the baby out with the bathwater. They have a big failure and they think business doesn't work or their niche doesn't. Like, big schemes. This is the very dangerous thing about human nature, is that when we experience failure, we throw everything out when we should just be throwing the one thing out that didn't work, the specific thing. And I've done this where I have a failure, and the failure, I learned the wrong lesson, and I end up throwing out the whole Whereas in reality, I should have just thrown out the specific thing. This is where ego does that. Okay, so capital, labor, code, media, and applied right lessons. That's how you build leverage and how you end up working less. Okay, so I hope that you've enjoyed this video. I know it's very theoretical. Well, not theoretical. Like I said, conceptual. But I think it's been a valuable one I just wanted to make. Hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you in the next video.